Hi everyone, so I'm going to blog today. It's been a couple of days. Today's blog is going to be about the pregnancy and birth of my first child, and this is pretty much where my marriage started to disintegrate. I found out I was pregnant in June or July. I had found out I was pregnant, and he seemed excited about it at first, and I thought, hey, maybe this is a good thing. But then I started noticing that he was getting distant from me, and he, wasn't trying to be around as much as he once was before, and he was trying to get involved in other stuff. But I was happy because when I was 17, I was told I couldn't have kids, and that if I ever got pregnant that I would miscarry. They told me that my lining in my uterus was too thin to carry a child. And so, of course, I was worried and I was scared and I wasn't sure if I was actually going to have this kid or not. It was a stressful pregnancy. I ended up leaving him while I was pregnant with our daughter, our first child. We're going to call her C. The reasoning behind that is that I guess he thought it was okay to, I don't know. I'll never understand the cheating thing or the attempt to cheat or nothing like that. But I had logged on to his messenger for some reason. I don't remember. And his ex-girlfriend had messaged him and said, I remember it very well today. She said, you couldn't say hi. Why did you have to be an ass? And I messaged back and said, when did I see you? So I pretty much did the immature thing. And like most wives, they're going to play like they're the husband. And she told him that they had saw each other at some fast food restaurant or something like that. I don't know. So we started talking even more as him. And I guess based off of the conversation I was having with her, they were talking a lot. And I guess that day we were at the restaurant, I was with him, and that's why he didn't acknowledge her. And she had no clue that he was married. She had no clue that we were even having a child. So I ended up leaving him because of that. I was in a rent-a-car because I got in a car accident, I believe. I did. I got in a car accident at Home Depot. Someone was backing out of a spot and hit me. No. Why did I not have my car? Some reason I was in a rent-a-car. I don't even remember why, because when I got my accident, it was after my daughter was born. So I don't remember. But some reason I was in a rent-a-car. And I decided to leave him. And I was driving back to my home state when I realized I couldn't leave the state I was in with a rent-a-car. It wasn't even my car. So I was going to go back to a friend's house and stay with them. And he had texted me or called me and asked me to meet up with him so we could talk. Especially since I was pregnant. And I said, okay. So we met at Taco Bell. And we had talked. And he was apologetic. And he was sorry. And he swore nothing ever happened. That they just, it was just innocent and stuff like that. Well, I didn't trust him and I didn't believe him, but he was like, he doesn't want me to move back to my home state because he wanted to know his daughter and he wanted us to be a family and all that good stuff. So I believed him. Well, after the day of my child's birth, I ended up having an emergency C-section because her heart stopped completely. I had contacted him because we had his son with us, so he wanted to go check on his son because his mom had him. Well, I called him and asked him where he was when they came in and said we were going to take her. He was still in the parking lot of the hospital. And I told him he needed to come back because they were fixing to prep me for emergency C-section. And he said, okay. So 10 minutes went by, 20 minutes went by. And at this point, they are fixing to wheel me into the emergency room. Or into the surgery room, where I called him and said, where are you? And he told me he went home. And I yelled at him and I said, did you not hear me tell you that they are fixing to give me an emergency C-section? You needed to come back. And he was like, well, I'm on my way. Well, he got there as they were fixing to cut me open. That was the worst experience of my life. He didn't comfort me. He didn't try to make me feel better. After the baby was born, I saw her the first day, which was a couple of hours because I ended up having her at 10:06 p.m. So they let me see her, and then they took her, and they never brought her back. I had asked him to go find out where she's at. He wouldn't go. His mom ended up coming to see us, and she went to go see the baby, and she told me that that she was hooked up with tubes, wires all over the place. And around this time, the nurse had came in and asked if they could give her a bottle, and I said, no, give me my baby. They told me they were unable to, and I said that I did not want her on a bottle because I wanted to nurse her, but they couldn't give me any information until the pediatrician came in. I kept telling my husband, go find out, go find out. He was like, no. So that made me feel like maybe he doesn't really care about her. When the doctor came in, eventually she told me that my daughter was not using her lungs to breathe, that she was breathing out of her stomach, so they were having to give her oxygen. They were tube feeding her as well as some other stuff, and they were in the process of taking her to the NICU if it didn't get better. My parents were fixing to come down because of it, because we lived a good 9 hours away. And my brother at the time was going to come down. Everybody was ready to come down for it. Well, by the grace of God, she came through and I got my baby. And so that really put a strain on me and my heart towards him. You just don't do that. And then, so after my first daughter was born and we took her home, I went through bad postpartum, and he was no help. And at that point, I was wanting out of my marriage. My first two children are 2 years and 1 week apart. So by the time that I was ready to leave him, I found out that I was pregnant again with my second child. So between the time my first child was born to find out that my second daughter was born, we didn't have a good relationship. I know a lot of people are like, oh, but you ended up pregnant. There's a lot to that, and I'm not going to really get into that with you guys, just because it's just not something I want to talk about. But it was a tough marriage, a lot of fighting in between. I will say when I found out I was pregnant with my second child, I was not happy, because I was wanting to leave. And I know you guys are probably thinking, well, you could have left. I could have. But I didn't have the support at that point to leave. It would have just been me, my daughter, and I would have been pregnant. Or at least just me and my daughter pre-pregnancy. It wasn't a good marriage, at that point. But I'm going to end it here and, pick up where I found out I was pregnant with my second child and all the promises he made when he found out about that. Because every time I left him, he would beg me to come back. And I did leave him after my first daughter was born. There was a point when I did leave him and he came crawling back again, begging and crying things would be different. Our marriage is going to work. And for a while, things were different. And then it would fall back. And then every time I think he realized I was going to leave, I ended up pregnant. And so that is where the second child comes into play. And I'm going to stop now. We'll talk about the birth of my second daughter and the affair that happened during and after. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.